Hello, everyone, and welcome to our usual kitchen table talk. This is our usual weekly gathering to discuss the crazy, crazy things that are happening in Canada. I saw a presentation on common law that I thought was very interesting, that took me in a different direction because there was a lot of resistance here last week, including myself. Is Care Bear here? No, Care Bear's not here. I wanted to talk to him about that, but maybe we'll talk about it anyway. There's a lot of resistance, and there was a guy just explaining about how he used common law to enter the UK with no vax hotel or no hotel quarantine or anything like that. So he explained it, and as I was listening to it, it was like a 22-minute video. I was like, we need to spread this kind of stuff because this is real world how it works. So I thought it was very interesting. Doug Ford is saying that we're going to open everything up in January. I'm very skeptical of this. I don't think that's going to happen. I'd be very shocked if that happened. There's other crazy things that are happening as well in the last week. I think that those are the two major ones. There's something else that I said that we were going to talk about, but what do you guys think about Doug Ford? Who here believes that we're actually going to see a full opening by January? No, I don't think so either.
Pigs fly.
Yeah, it seems almost abusive, like they're lying. Like they know they're lying. We know they're lying. Everybody knows they're lying, and still they're like, no, we're totally going to open up. I'd love it if they opened up. Don't get me wrong. I would absolutely love it. It would be my favorite thing.
It's all
When's your provincial election?
Yeah,
June, I believe, next year.
Is it June? Okay.
Yeah, and that's what I think. That's part of it. But there's no, in my opinion, there's no real heir apparent. Like if Doug Ford's not going to be the premier of Ontario after June 2022, to me, if Jim Cariolis can pull together New Blue, and like Jim and Belinda Cariolis, if they can pull that together, I'd love it. Great, do it. Like, let's stop this madness, right? But it seems to me like even Bernier, right? We're going to the second election now with People's Party federally, and it seems to me that if you're not doing a press conference every day and like this is my minister for education, this is my minister for jobs, this is my minister of finance, this is how they're screwing up, this is how we're going to do better. If you're not doing that, like you're not really challenging the power structure in the province. And we're not doing, like, I don't see anybody doing that. I see like hits here and there on Doug Ford and hits here and there on the like what he's doing and mistakes, but it's not like they're just missing a connection for me. But I'd love it. Make no mistake, I'm not trying to badmouth anybody. I'd love an alternative, but it doesn't seem like we've got an alternative.
I think it was interesting how you said, well, they're firing all these nurses and all these people that aren't getting vaxxed, but yet they're gonna take out the restrictions and everything in a couple months.
Yeah.
How does that make sense?
Have they've
Right?
Okay, just before I came out here, somebody made the connection, like they're opening up strip clubs. Like they're opening up strip clubs before December. But
Well,
we can't,
I think, didn't it say sex clubs?
and sex clubs, yeah. It's like, what's a sex club? But they're canceling the Santa Claus parade. Like go to your sex club, go to your strip club, full everybody, right? But we have 90% covered in Guelph, and Guelph, like 90% double jabbed, and they canceled it.
Unbelievable.
It's like, what? And Cam, the mayor's like, oh, well, nothing I can do about it. It's the business administration that does it.
It just keeps proving though, Mark, that it's not health anymore, that it's politically inclined.
Yeah. Well, I think it is. And I think that there's a lot of people who are kind of waking up to that. But the more they're waking up to that, the tighter the grip is, right? And this announcement, honestly, the announcement of we're going to be opening up in a few months, and January 17th and then March, no masking, has got people like, oh, they just hadn't announced it yet. We totally believe them. We're totally going to open up. And I'm like, oh man, like they got you again. 2 more weeks to fly. Yeah, well,
Mass hysteria.
Yeah, it's like the Charlie Brown, Lucy moving the football every time on him. It's like, this time I won't do a Charlie Brown, I promise. Right? Ron, sorry, you had your hand up. I was just going to go to you.
Yeah, I sent out the other day the decision on the mandatory civil servants, so healthcare, the bill that got turned down. I sent that to a family member, my mother, actually. We have no preconceived notions of what's going on, but I sent it to her, said, oh, you got some time. And she's like, oh yeah, that's great, because I got my notice today that October 30th is my last day by my choice. So it just, like on the same day the decision, or the day after the decision came out, she got told she's got 7 days notice.
So that's another thing that's happened this week. A whole bunch of people, like I called it the day of the rope the other day on my show, probably Thursday, but it was like the police unions, all the police unions who were fighting, the civic, the city unions all got notice that if you don't get your vax by November 31st, buddy, you're done. And like, we'll put you on temporary leave. We'll put you on, a leave that will never expire. And it's like, how is that about healthcare? About health? If you've got people who've been, and we've talked about this before, but if you've got a whole bunch of people who are viewed as heroes who've been working without the protection of a vaccine and they don't want the protection of the vaccine, you're going to fire those people? Like, those are the people you're going after here? It seems ill-advised. It seems stupid. And well, I guess we're not going to have the healthcare crisis that I was predicting that we were going to have, but only because they keep kicking the can down the road. But I think that what happens is my brother, he knows some people who are roofers, and we were hanging out at his place. And one guy was saying, he works at a different company than my brother, but the one guy was saying, if you don't get vaxxed, they don't let you go into certain job sites. You don't get access to this and that. So I think they're going to do like and I think there are a lot of healthcare workers who have talked to their wives or husbands, talked to their significant other, and basically decided like, F this, no matter what happens, I'm not doing this. But now they're gonna try and weasel in like, what's the thing that we need to change to get compliance from these people in the next month? You know what I mean? Like, and I just feel like they'll whittle it down and whittle it down and whittle it down until it's like 1,000 people, and then they'll fire those 1,000 people, and that's that. So,
well, it's direct and indirect pressure. My son-in-law, he caved this week. He got vaccinated because his family is from Morocco, so he lives in Germany, so he has to frequently travel there. And similar rules there, like you have to be vaccinated. It's easier if you recovered. It's a little, it's okay, and then testing. And what they've done a few weeks ago in Germany, again, it's perhaps not everywhere in Germany because it's the same as what they do there as here. Like it's like the local state, they do their own rules. So they have to pay now for the testing, right? So you can get your test, and for work, you would have to test like literally every other day. And each test over there is, I think, like 35 euros, right? So that's a lot of money.
Same here, 40 for Shoppers Drug Mart.
They started a family, they have 3 children. Like, how are you going to do that? Exactly.
That's exactly that. And that's it. That's the crux of it. They know that they have that kind of leverage, and they know that most people don't have 6 months of cushion saved up. And even if you did, and they say, oh, we'd love you to start when, do you have your vaccine, drop your vaccine passport proof off, and you've got the job. And it's like, oh, well, shit, right? Like, you're screwed.
Well, I think we all know that. I mean, to me, the question is, why is Doug Ford waiting 5 months to begin with, right? So that's weird.
Yep.
Secondly, so in my opinion, the economical damage that they have caused will be so apparent soon, because I can feel it myself. I have lesser hours, right? So my income has been cut in that way, and and then you have the inflation that goes crazy, right? I mean, like for us in the household I'm close to now, like normally, like 2 years ago, I would have paid like maybe $1,200 a month for food and such. Now we're talking here 1,800, close to sometimes 2,000. We're stocking up a little more, obviously.
That's about $300 a week and moving up to $400 a week. Just trying to
it's not math. Plus tax increases and all that stuff too, right? So
transportation increase. The cost to even get to the grocery store has increased by 50% in the last 6 months, right? It's crazy.
Yeah, gas, right? I mean, not that I drive a lot anymore, but again, that's, I guess, the point, right? But even so, like, you try to save some money by doing lesser things, but then they get you otherwise.
Kinley, you're muted. There you go.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Afternoon. I just want to speak, I here in BC, we've been kind of waiting for Henry's mandate to come through. And I guess on the 24th, she actually did her legal letter. But one of the loopholes some people here have been doing, which they weren't prepared for, was applying for medical leave. So whether it's mental health or physical, so you get paid leave under that. And I don't think they were prepared to
So they
have
have to,
people do that. So they have to pay
yeah.
as long as you're off. So I
Mhm.
think some people in the province have obviously been doing that. And this has just been a threat to try to get people forced in, but it's up to the healthcare worker, or I think any profession, if you've got to have some sort of insurance there.
Mhm.
But the person I know that went through this process, when it came down to dealing with the insurance, occupational health, her email to him, right off the bat, she said, "I see you're not vaccinated." You know, and that has nothing to do with you applying
Yeah.
for leave, you know, and I just said to him, like, you just need to don't discuss that topic because that has nothing to do with your insurance.
Mhm.
And they really have no right to A, know that, or B, until you sign over that they can access your medical records or
Yeah.
anything like that, right? So it's been
Yeah.
interesting. There are loopholes, I think, if people look into it.
One of the things in Ontario that happened as well is with Doug Ford, the loophole going the other way was that the medical officer of health, the local medical officer of health, could still issue a Section 22. So if they repealed masks, say on the 24th of March, the medical officers of health could just keep the masks in place. So while you're talking about the loopholes that are being used by the employees, and I think that's valuable because what's going to happen is they're going to close them. The loopholes that are being implemented by the government enable the government to continue to control us without it looking like it's Doug Ford's fault. And Terry, I think, was saying elections coming. Yeah, I think that's an influence for sure, because Doug Ford doesn't want to look like a tyrannical monster, because who's going to vote for him? But who's standing in line, right? I'm skeptical. Terry.
I just wanted to, my daughter 2 days ago got an extension from Alberta. She was done at
Really?
the end of the month.
Yeah.
Yep. They
Wow.
wrote her and told her she's extended. But there's something that's happening kind of underground too that's really interesting, is a lot of them are receiving reach outs from companies in the United States and other
Really?
places
Wow.
for nurses because they're shorthanded, eh? So she got a job interview for the United States as a nurse. So we'll see
Holy
what happens.
smokeronies. How many dependents can she take? I only have a few
That's
people.
what I said.
I'm very old. I
I told
identify
her
as
Texas.
very old. Texas, yeah, for sure, man.
Or Texas.
Yeah.
But they're reaching out. She showed me the letter. It's quite
Wow.
interesting, and they're very interested in speaking with people. So anyone who has a medical person who's fighting for their jobs right now, tell them to go searching. There are
Yeah.
other options, and
Yeah.
they don't care if you're vaccinated or not. So.
Interesting. I would highly recommend that. So good advice from Terry. Thank you, Terry. Mr. Mill, and then John Doe. Oh, Stephen, put your hand up so I can.
I can't. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Oh,
It
okay.
just tells me to invite somebody. So that's why I always wave at you.
Oh, that's weird. Okay, sorry, man. All right, Mr. Mel. Well, Stephen, do you want to go before Mr. Mel? Mr. Mel's, yeah, okay.
Oh.
Stephen, and then Mr. Mel, and then John Doe.
Well, it was just
I'm
as a
here.
follow-up to
Oh,
the other
okay.
thing that, oh, sorry.
Good.
Go
Go, Stephen, and then Mr. Mel.
Okay, it was just as a follow-up because the other day I was listening on the radio here in Montreal, the English radio. They're actually offering jobs to nurses, saying strictly in the thing, we don't care if you're vaccinated or not vaccinated.
Wow.
Call this number 1-800, and it would play after like a government went, oh yes, you got to be vaccinated,
Yeah.
and I found
Wow.
that extremely strange, and
Yeah.
that, like, we already have enough of a brain drain. Maybe this is to really put the nail in the coffin there.
And it would too. It would too. So very, very scary stuff. Okay, Mr. Mel, sorry, man. I muted you. Go ahead. Mr. Mel. Okay.
Unmute. Okay. Hey, it's actually KB.
Hey, Care Bear, what's
how's
going
everyone
on?
doing?
Good.
Yeah.
Were you
How's it
here at
going?
the beginning?
I missed like the first 5 or a few minutes.
Okay, I gave you a call out or a shout out. I even included it in the email. I
Oh,
saw
right on.
Yeah, I saw a video of a Brit who was traveling from Brazil and he came back to England through France, and they tried to stop him in France. He used common law, and he was like, yeah, they folded. It was super easy. UK, they're a bit more difficult. He said he spent 6 hours in
Right on.
6 hours in custody, but he was like, but they tried to take me to a hotel, and I walked out, and the people were saying, oh, I'll call the police. He said, call the police. I just spent 6 hours in custody. Like, what are you talking about, the police? So yeah, what's up, man?
Yeah.
Let me know what's
They're
up.
panicking. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
yeah.
things are, I wanted to kind of follow up on Kinsley, what she said. So, you actually mentioned also the doctors group I mentioned I was working with, like that's the United Healthcare Workers of Ontario. So now they have a website. They're becoming more public, so which is great.
Yeah.
But then the other group, like, the whole sovereign citizen common law stuff. I'm following them very closely at all their meetings, and they have like a slight victory, which pretty much shows like the system that is trying to impose this is panicking. Like, they're losing their options. They're like trying to figure out what else they can do. So I can't say like who or what company, but it has to do with airlines, and it's a big one. And essentially through their paperwork that they put like notices of liability and all the different like amending your signature and yada yada, essentially the company caved and accommodated as opposed to terminating the employee by giving them indefinite paid leave.
Wow.
So they would prefer more to just like pay you indefinitely for not like just you're listed as an employee but you're not working, instead of fire you. And that sends like a huge message, because clearly if you basically do not if you do not take on the liability of this situation, like basically saying, fine, I'll voluntarily take the vaccine and whatever happens to me kind of thing. If you put it in paper that you're not taking that liability, that liability still stays on the employer, they don't want to fire you. They clearly, they would rather put you on indefinite paid leave than fire you.
Wow.
So things are looking like I see them like scrambling a little bit in terms of like the agenda. Things are looking like,
who knows? I don't know,
so
but...
I just see more and more. I see more and more lights popping up at the end of the tunnel. There's also another group of physicians and nurses and all the healthcare practitioners that's kind of branched off. If you guys want to look at something called the like Ezra Wellness Centers, this started out of BC, but now it's moved to Ontario, and a lot of the United Healthcare workers are now like, essentially we're going to be popping up clinics where we're just like, for our patients, we're going to like, they're going to have to sign a waiver that they recognize that we're not functioning under CPSO's licensure.
Right.
And we're gonna practice like I don't want to say practice medicine, because the clinic is not it's gonna have to be legally defined in certain ways. But we're gonna provide care, and we're educated, like we're capable, but we're not licensed. There are some of the physicians are licensed and they can still prescribe, for example. The challenge will come into like OHIP, right? Like if we're not licensed through CPSO, we can't. Exactly. So it's basically going to be like private clinic, except for some of the physicians who still have their license, they can charge something still. Like, it's all being sorted out, but I'm just saying like the alternate economy is starting.
That's
like, get out of the system, basically.
Very interesting. I've heard rumors. There was another actually, Dr. Killian, Peter, I can't see it. You're on there somewhere. Oh, there you are, bottom left. Peter, Dr. Killian is involved in something to do. Sorry, Care Bear, I muted you. But Dr. Killian is involved in I think what Care Bear is talking about here, or Mr. Mel is talking about. She's putting together basically what Care Bear was describing there. So I think that that's really interesting as well, to hear that. I'm cautiously optimistic, because CPSO and OHIP will do their best to crush this. It's competition. And even if people want, I mean, like the federal government will also crush this. They said to Saskatchewan, we didn't realize you were doing this for CT, I think it was CT scans, but correct me if I'm wrong. And they said, we'll pull the funding. If you don't stop this, we'll pull the funding that you're using to jump the gun or jump the lines and stuff. So I wish you all the luck I can possibly wish you. I hope you guys are successful. I really do. But it's wild. Okay, Mel, I'm going to move forward. We'll probably circle back to that. John Doe, you've been very patient. Thanks, man. And then Carolyn, and then Val.
Sure. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on the sort of optimism from across the border. I work for a company that, you've all probably heard the name, employs hundreds of thousands of employees. Most of my coworkers are in the US, so I'm sort of aware of everything that's going on across the border. And even though Biden has the whole mandate for if you have more than 100 employees, you have to have the proof of vaccine. They are told specifically that they can seek out exemptions and that they will be honored. So it's
That's
just
good to hear.
hope. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good to hear. It's a weird thing to go through a situation in Ontario where exemptions, medical exemptions are the only thing, and medical exemptions, the politicians are pretty sure are very, very difficult to get. And you're like, what? How is that? Like, any kid who's mandated in Ontario to have vaccines can opt out of those vaccines, period, like at their parents' wish or anything like that. So how it just flies in the face of everything we were taught our country is to go in this direction. So it's scary to me. So I'm glad that there are places that are still recognizing that humans have an inherent right to choose what enters their body. Carolyn.
Yes. So with the change yesterday with Doug Ford, or Friday.
Yep.
So my husband went in to get his hair cut today.
Yeah.
And the woman that cuts his hair said if they've been told if they want their numbers to be back up, how many people they can allow in the salon, they've got to check for vax passports.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's it.
They have to be open at 50% capacity if they don't check for vax passports. And if they check for vax passports, then they're back up to 100% capacity.
So I didn't hear anything about that. I mean, I didn't really listen to it because he's so full of shit, but
yeah, it's
now you can't get your hair cut.
Yeah. I was watching, like, this is funny because my wife is terrified. She's like, you're on camera every single day. You seriously want to do this? I was like, oh yeah, we're doing this. But I was watching YouTube videos yesterday of how to cut men's hair. Like, not me, but I was like sending it to my wife. I'm like, watch this one. I'm like, watch this one too. I'm like, we've got the scissors, right? Or should I order these ones? And then and we've got the, the buzz thing or whatever. Cause I was a young kid once. You remember when remember when the style was to like cut up under and then grow your hair long over top?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it was awful, but I rocked that look. It was terrible. So we've got all the things we need. So I'm going to have a great haircut tomorrow. I can tell you that right now. So
anyway, I had no idea. No idea.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's crazy what's happening. And the whole thing is, well, Care Bear was talking about alternate economy from everything from, like, if you can see the qualifications of your physician, do you give a shit if the CP? In fact, would you be like, maybe if the CPSO licenses this guy, maybe I should go to somebody else. I'm not really sure about this. Like, what do you think about this? Oh, okay. And the CPSO starts talking to the Muppet, right? So yeah, I don't know. It's happening for haircuts because I'm not spending money that I otherwise would spend. It's happening for like medical things, which most people thought was free and or covered by taxes. So what else can go underground like that, right? Or just be done at home. Val. Oh, you're muted, sorry. Uh-oh, okay, there we go.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hello, everyone. It's really good to see you. I just wanted to say that I'm very happy to hear that doctors are forming some sort of a co-op to provide alternative healthcare access for people, because I have to say that you're talking about qualifications and professionalism, and I have a bit of a health problem going on, and interestingly enough, it started in May. I still haven't received help for it. I have got a referral for January, but it took 7 doctors.
Wow.
At that one referral. So if, and this is sort of Mark's suggestion to you, please don't think too bold of me, but I'm wondering if maybe if you don't have it already, maybe you can introduce some sort of a classified on your website, because your website right now is such it's a breath of fresh air. So maybe you can put sort of a classified section for people that can provide services for unvaccinated, like
oh, sure.
health.
I'll add it.
Kids.
Yeah, I can add it on the forums. I'll add it on the forums, and then that way you can like just post what you want.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll add
I
it on the forums.
have
Sure.
sort of a useless profession, but I can do like house cleaning. I'm not above
That's
that.
not that's not useless. What are you talking
Well, anything.
about? Yeah, no, I'll certainly do that, Val. I think somebody suggested this before, and not that I hadn't moved on it, but I thought, like, how can I do that? But yeah, if I do it on the forum, then it can kind of take on its own. Like people can share it around and then use it if they want to use it, and it's there. So
That's another group that's popped up on Facebook. I noticed this week was another people posting their qualifications.
yeah.
There's another group, but who knows how long. I'm surprised the other one lasted.
Yeah, and sometimes, I mean, sometimes that kind of stuff catches attention of people, and but I mean, I've caught the attention of some people anyway, so things are what they are.
It's
Peter,
just for people that don't have Facebook, because
Fair
not
enough.
thank you.
That's true. Yeah, no, I'll put it up. I'll do that this afternoon. Peter, what's going on, dude?
Just one thing, the impending doom, I guess, of the 5 to 11-year-olds if they ever approve vaccine for that. And it was your video, I think, Mark, that showed the mother that was banned from speaking to her
Yeah.
14.
Yeah, that was today.
I have a young friend that's divorced, and his one daughter was just terrified that she's going to have to get it. And,
Oh.
and he calmed her down and says, no, we both have to agree.
Mhm.
But, in the case of judges,
Yeah.
you're probably the state's choice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's scary too. This is the precedent that was set with regards to like having one parent having more say with the gender bending thing that happened in BC, right? So the one parent didn't want his child transitioning, and then the court said you're in contempt of court if you misgender your child, and if you give him, I don't know, if you give them, oh, sorry, I lost my train of thought. I got an email that kind of took my brain away. But yeah, like it's apologies. It's difficult though. Sorry, go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, no, I just, with Doug canceling all this, supposedly, we've got conflicting messages. I mean, as if that's anything new, but I think the big hurdle is going to come, and I think you've talked about this in the past. When is the line too much that's going to be crossed? And when they start trying to jab 5 to 11-year-olds that have agency
When
to
they-
make a decision.
Yeah, when they force it. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I was saying that the precedent was set when they did that out in BC, and now it applies here. And it's like, well, what are you going to do? And when they force it, it's like, well, how do you stop it? Like, even if you say, one of the questions that I had after reading the article in my show this morning was, if the kid doesn't want it, like if say the kid says like, I've read the things that my mom showed me online, and I'm very concerned, and I don't want to have this thing. And then the judge says that's invalid because your mom told you. And you say, okay, show me evidence that disproves it. And they say, experts say that you're wrong. And it's like, okay, well, it doesn't matter what experts say. Look at the data.
But I think a 14-year-old though has a little more say than perhaps a 6-year-old.
Right, but if the state's saying you have to listen to your dad, and your dad's saying get vaccinated, the 14-year-old, do they have the agency to say no at that point in time? Like, I don't know that they do, right? No. Like, I think the state's saying the risks or the benefits outweigh the risks, and therefore you have to follow through with that. And
you covered the CNN article about the vax makes you superhuman, like you won't die from anything.
No, a super demon? No, no, but I hope so.
New study shows that makes you less likely to die
from anything. Yeah, I did see. Okay, I did see that. Somebody took a screenshot and they were saying like, this is so ridiculous, and it is ridiculous.
I checked the link out. It's serious.
It's legit. Yeah. It makes you a super being. I understand. Yeah. Okay, Terry.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to wrap my head around what you just said. My spouse and I said, what? There was an actual saying it makes you a super being?
Oh, it was saying like that it reduces your overall mortality and your overall like for everything. Taking this vaccine is like the be all and end all, the best thing you could possibly do for your health, because it'll make you. So
Well, I just have a question for everyone.
yeah.
As you know, Mark, I was a sitting councillor till I resigned last year because I just didn't believe in what was happening. I have a question. Did they change how the procedures in Parliament are run? Why are people making decisions for our country at this time?
So yeah,
when they haven't, I haven't met the new cabinet. I don't
been
know
sworn in.
what the hell is going on.
Have they? So yeah, that's actually that's a great transition. That's the other part of what I wanted to talk about. Trudeau hasn't, like, they recalled cabinet or they recalled the legislature, and then the 22nd they sit on the 22nd of November. So have they been sworn in? They're supposed to get sworn in at some point soon, and then in November come and sit. But they've spent $7.4 billion, and it goes into effect today at midnight today.
And they're mandating shit as well. Like how are the vaccine passports on international travel and coming into Canada valid at this time?
Yeah.
We don't have a sitting government. How are they making these decisions and implementing them without having a government together? Like I don't know why there isn't more of an uproar. Sorry, it blows my mind.
Yeah, I think it plays into, I think you're right, but it plays into a situation where they are trying to get away with everything they possibly can. I think sitting and having the House of Commons sit actually slows things down. I think they can get more done this way, and there's no accountability. Like even there was an MP an MP who wrote as MP elect, because they haven't been sworn in yet. And he was saying, like, and this was on the September 30th Truth and Reconciliation Day. Like, Justin, you're terrible because you did this on Truth and Reconciliation Day. But like, they're having to communicate that way because they're not official, etc. And that's wild, isn't it? Like we're spending money.
I couldn't do any work as a counselor until I was sworn in, took my oath.
Yeah.
So how is this happening?
Well, great question. And the funny thing is, when you say like there's no pushback or anything like that, it's hard to explain to people what's happening, because people either just like dismiss it because they think, well, they wouldn't do that, or it's too complicated. I often tell people, if you have to explain like 2 jumps to explain the thing that you want to talk about, it's too many. And this is too many. It's too many for most people. And not that they don't care.
Every keystone you hit and taken care of.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. Like, people grab their tree to hug, and they hit that one. They get there.
Yeah. Well, they're encouraged by the media. They're encouraged by, like, it's not just the media, but like they're encouraged by the media, and then they sit in a school play and they do the land acknowledgement, right? And then like, and they go to a hockey game and they do the land acknowledgement thing too. So it's very part of culture now. It's been almost like it's just like downloaded into culture that you have to do it this way. And it's like, wow, we've really lost what made us productive and
it's
like
taken
effective.
them less than 2 years to do this.
It really has. But
the infrastructure, like the hyper normalization has been like, if you take a minute to watch that.
Yeah.
And like my wife and I were sitting there the whole video going, right. Because I grew up in the 70s too, right? I grew up in the 80s. And I thought my life was perfect. Oh, this is never going to end. This is going to be great.
Yeah.
And then realizing what Putin did, like just what he did was like, wow.
Yeah.
And you can see it now. You can see, like, again, if you don't know that you should be angry about this, like, again, too, right? Well, if you've never been taught how the government, like, I was never taught how the government works.
Yeah.
I never, that nobody ever taught me basic first aid in school either.
Yeah.
I was, it was all anyways. Sorry.
If you don't know the game.
Everyone on the Zoom, Mark, is not from this planet. Everyone who's awake and seeing what is going on right in front of their face is not from this planet. Because I'm not kidding. Things are so wow.
Who knows? And like, I mean, I think there's precedent. Like, I was just going to say, there's a documentary, and I just shared it. Oh, it's right here. Actually, I'll put it in the chat. The part 2 I'm watching right now is it's called, can't get you out of my head, but
It's good.
Basically,
started
yeah,
watching it.
yeah.
Yeah.
It talks
Yeah.
about the racism elements, the Black Panthers. Was it Black Panthers? Black Power, that whole movement. And Malcolm X, it talks about China and the rise of communist China. It talks about Mao and the woman. Well, the beginning of this is all about Mao's wife, who basically, well, they were about, they liked communism and they wanted to propagate communism, and they used a mass panic to move it forward. And it was the Red Guard and like, it's a repeat of what's happening now. It's wild. If you look at this documentary through the lens of it's happening again in a similar fashion, it's scary. It's scary. And it's just like, how do you not quantify, but like tell other people? Because this is an hour-long documentary. So I'm this is the second hour of a 6-part series. Most people aren't going to have time or interest to look at the political nitty-gritty of this and go, holy cow, this is like history repeating, right? But it is, and it's pretty wild. Mark, how's it going, dude?
Unmuted.
There you go. Oh. There you go.
Yeah. I just want to share something really weird I came across the other day. I think a lot of people are familiar with either Babylon Bee or The Onion or JP. I don't know his last name, red hair guy.
Yeah.
All the YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And the scary part is when you read those articles or watch JP, it's funny because it's so close to the truth, or it basically is the truth in a satire. So somebody had mentioned, actually, I think you were about a quarantine camp in Darwin, Australia, and everybody's been watching Australia. It's just nuts down there.
Yeah.
So I came across this article and I started reading the article, and I read the entire article, and I thought the entire thing was something from Babylon Bee or The Onion. It was I just thought it was satire. And then as I was reading, I'm going, I don't think this is. So I actually took about 20 minutes because I couldn't, and I'll read the headline and I'll put the link to the article, because I'm going, there's no way that this could be real. It has to be satire. And I researched, okay, the site, it looks like it's a legit site. Because, sometimes like they'll say CBC, but it's .something, it's not really CBC.
Yeah.
Anyways, so the headline is, and this just goes to show you, and then I'll sort of, my comment is, so the headline on this article is, inside the Darwin quarantine camp, where life is like a holiday for people escaping lockdown. And then it goes through, and one of the quotes is Mrs. Rubenstein, it was almost like a holiday. We were given our own little cabin with the television and kitchenette, which I shared with my daughter, and we had adjoining balconies so we could hang out together and go for walks. We thoroughly enjoyed it. Honestly, it felt like a holiday from our experience in Melbourne. So the entire article is like that, and you read it and you go, it's unbelievable. But the scary part is, I think, so this is how they're framing things in Australia, that literally going to quarantine camps like a holiday.
Mm-hmm.
So if you take it to the potentially next logical step, the next logical step is, it's okay that Jim across the street had to be forced to go to quarantine camp.
It's like a holiday.
Because it's a holiday. They mentioned that he can go for walks. There's even a thing in the article, I'm going to post in the chat now, about how they get to go, you can go for a swim in the beach and watch the sunset. I kid you not. They talk about you get to watch the sunset, and we go for walks for 20 minutes a day. Anyways,
Wow.
It's absolutely insidious.
Yep.
The way that they're like, I seriously, it took me ages to look it up, and I went, no, this is a real article from ABC Australia.
Yep.
And you will think you're reading satire all the way through until you realize, no, it's just pure propaganda.
The parallels to Demolition Man and V for Vendetta and all of those kind of dystopian movies have just shocked me. Like, I can't believe when you watch Demolition Man and like consider the Edgar Friendlies, right? Or V for Vendetta, and the government created the virus to control people, basically. You created V, and it's like, wow, like holy smokes, man! Predictive programming, like. So yeah, Ron, what's up, man?
I wanted to ask. Well, there's two things. I want to ask about locals with the credits. So I'll kind of lob ball you up one, because there's a few people over there I want to support, and I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
And then the second thing was propaganda. Elephants losing their tusks. Anybody see this?
No.
Elephants are evolutionarily losing their tusks, like 40% of females, because of poachers. I thought it was the strangest story I've seen in so long, and I thought it was repeated. So
Interesting.
Right.
Interesting. I haven't heard of that.
put that out there. Okay.
For-
It was
Did,
strange.
did you have did you have a specific question about locals?
No, just so you buy credits, and then I can divvy them up between creators at locals. So there's Viva and Barnes, and you, and then there's possibly a few other creators. So I don't even know how to do it. So you buy creators, and I divvy them up between creators.
Oh, okay. I don't know how the credits work. I just know how many subscribers I get. I don't know.
Well, Mark has a fixed amount that you have, that is
okay.
So you set a fixed amount. Viva and Barnes is basically you choose how many credits you want to do, right? And then you can basically buy a package or whatever, and then spread whatever leftover tokens you have between whoever you want. And in a lot of cases, some creators, it's like, yeah, whatever you want to give me, or some creators have like a minimum or some whatever. It's kind of like the Wild West a bit. You got to kind of figure it out. And yeah, it is pretty confusing.
I buy the credits. I buy the credits from the company, and I hand them out, right?
Yeah, basically, yeah, and you choose who gets what, and it's kind of, and I like the kind of model, because you kind of have to invest some skin in the game to be able to make comments and to be able to talk and stuff like that. Whereas it's fairly open, and some people do get in there, and there is a discussion of people, but it's because you're also like I said, you do have some skin in the game. It's a lot more polite and a lot more. I find it more interesting, especially with Viva and Barnes. They're great.
Yeah. I've seen their stuff. I wish that I used it a little bit better. I do so much that I don't really have time to expand and like use the social media right. So apologies that I'm not using it as well as I should. I know that there's a lot of potential with locals, but I'm probably not using it to its max, but whatever. Carolyn?
Yes. What's everybody thinking about Fauci? Is he going to go to jail? Is anything going to happen to him?
I think the gain of function research is what you're talking about here, right?
Yeah.
So like, just to bring everybody up to speed, Fauci said, oh, we don't do gain of function. And then it was found out that they totally were doing gain of function. And so now is he going to go to jail for lying to Congress? Is he going to go to jail for paying for gain of function and destroying the world economy, specifically Canada's economy? Eamon, do you want to get in on this?
I mean, I think they've been trying to set him up as a fall guy for a lot of the stuff for a while, but it keeps not sticking. The latest thing is this new dog thing. And I think this is just a way they can just say, oh, he's an evil dog killer. Like, let's get him out of here and just don't answer any questions. I think that's where it goes.
But I don't see him going to jail. I see them finding like a lower level bureaucrat somewhere that they're going to target and say, oh,
no one's
he never
going to jail.
Oh yeah, but he never told Fauci, and it's all his fault. And Fauci, they're going to give him a plausible deniability thing, and they're basically going to grandfather him somewhere. Probably he's got too much money, right?
Yeah,
and
I was going to say
too much influence.
If Fauci goes to jail, there's a whole lot of other people who are going to jail. If this thing continues to carry forward, and like, if the thing is, Jordan Peterson talks about how you'll go get medicine for your pet and you'll finish those antibiotics for your pet, but you won't do it for you, right? So like those puppies, those puppies that got tortured. Forget about the human experiments. Forget about all of that stuff. Those puppies. Oh my gosh, the puppies. Right. So like, people might get pissed off enough about the puppies to get Fauci to like get a little slap on the wrist. But if Fauci goes to jail, then Fauci's not the biggest story we're talking about. I promise. It'll be other people.
Exactly.
And no,
Fauci is
the biggest
clearly like someone's cat's paw. And so like they can put him out into public and he can do this and that.
Yeah.
But eventually he has to get burned.
Let's be honest. If he does go to jail, 2 weeks later he's going to figure out how to hang himself with a paper bedspread, right?
Yeah, you're very good at that. You're very good at that.
And just remember, if he goes down as well, why is one of the, like Mark has said many times too, the reason why Parliament was dissolved was those papers. And how much does Trudeau really have wrapped up in all of that? Because once that falls apart, because we all know what's coming down that line.
So, but if I have a hard time gaming out so like 9/11 happened. And I remember I was driving home when 9/11 happened, and they talked about how a plane flew into the World Trade Center. And I thought, and at the time they were saying it was a Cessna, it was a little one. And then by the time I got home, 40 minutes later, the second plane hadn't hit yet, but it was clearly not a Cessna. So like big world changing event happened, but nothing really changed after 9/11, except 9/11 was used as an excuse to get the Patriot Act in, which was like created the surveillance state that we kind of live in now. So
and see what it's like to hold down an airport, how to control people's travel, right?
Right. So if something major happens and people aren't prepared for that major shift, what happens is the people who are prepared or who have assets in place go, I see what's happening here. And they move their little pieces on the board. And all of a sudden you've got the Patriot Act after 9/11, right? Yep. Instead of accountability for the $1 trillion that went missing at the Pentagon on September 10th, right? Like people were pissed about that. And then, oh, well, forgot about it. And like, I don't care about $1 trillion, but I've always said I care about accountability. Are we going to get accountability? Ooh, well, right. If Fauci goes down, do you think like they made a movie about him, right? Like they made like the movie's like Fauci, right? And it got terrible reviews. And it's like, but this is the reimagined history. They're going to be like, oh, Fauci was, like this. This will be seen as some kind of war, like some economic war, I'm sure. Like when the denouement hits, when the Great Reset resets, right? When that button's actually pushed, the reimagined history it is. And they'll be like that Great Reset buffs. Fauci will be a central character who helped it all. And you know what I mean? Like they'll make it sound great and reasonable and rational. And like, it's wonderful.
Propaganda.
Yeah, it's propaganda. Right. Exactly. Val.
I was about to say, because Mark said that people will get mad about puppies, but there is this guy in Britain, I don't remember his name, but he is a doctor. He was a doctor until his license got revoked. And what he started originally campaigning against in the 80s or late 70s was against vivisection, which is exploratory cutting on live organisms like dogs. I suspect they've done it on humans as well. And he was lobbying very hard, still to no avail. They painted him as a crazy conspiracy theorist. His like Wikipedia page is like essentially a slander, but he was pretty vocal during COVID against how vaccines are not what they are appearing to be in the media. So I don't remember. I will post on the website what he is. I'll link to his chat. But yeah, I mean, no one cares about puppies. I'm sorry, like not even killing dogs in China. Like no one talks about it because China doesn't want to talk about it. So
yeah.
Well, realistic, beautiful, but not working.
Yeah. Catherine McKenna doesn't want to talk about it. So I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. What's the name of that documentary you mentioned?
Out of Shadows, I think is what it.
Out of Shadows. Okay.
But the link to the documentary for the 20-minute talk from the English guy about the common law stuff is in the email I sent today, and it's totally worth the watch. Like I started it because I do that. I'm like, oh, I'll listen to this for a couple minutes, and if it's boring, I'll move on. And he had me the whole time, man. And I listened to it double time, so it only took 11 minutes. Right? It's 22 minutes. I think it only took 11 minutes, but it was halfway through. I was like, I have to finish. I have to hear the rest of the story. Like, this is a great story. So worth the time to watch it. And it's incredible. Like, and he basically says, like, if you know, then you know. And if you don't know, you're going to believe the lies of the police, and you're going to follow what they say. And the police may not know. Like, that's kind of the crux of this. They may not understand that what they're asking is in relation to an act, not a law. And, when they look up what is cited by this guy, they find that he's right. And so he spent 6 hours in custody, and that was that. He was home and no hotel isolation. Ryan.
Has anybody heard about the Peoples of the Solomon? They're in BC, and they actually have a petition going around, and they have to get 5 million people in Canada, and it has to do with the removal of the consent of the government, the corrupt government.
Is 5 million enough?
but that's what well, they're saying 5 million. They need 5 million people to sign this, and they can get rid of this corrupt government.
Yeah.
That's provincial, federal, everything. They've already, I guess they showed, well, they've showed this to Justin Trudeau, and they said that they're going to do this. And this is for the natives, this is for non-natives, but it has to do with all what you guys are saying there about the
yeah, I see. I'm hesitant because I heard, you know, the guy who was on July 1st delivering the thing to the US Embassy, and the USMCA was supposed to come into effect, and blah, 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 blah. So, you know, I don't know. And the other thing is, there was a whole bunch of Albertans who voted to stop equalization payments, and Trudeau was like, that's super nice, but you need like 7 provinces and 50% of the population in order to even like talk about this. And so I'm a skeptical guy though. So I could be wrong.
I'm not sure. I just was wondering if anybody's heard about this or whatever.
I come across things like that all the time. It's do you remember and I mean, again, I'm skeptical, but do you remember the emails that used to go around in the late 90s when gas was 60 cents a liter, and they were like 62 cents a liter? Everybody don't go to Petro-Canada tomorrow. And you'd be like, this is not going to work. Thomas.
Yeah. A couple of things, like back to the whether Fauci goes to jail or anybody like him. I mean, again, give me an example of historical example.
Yeah,
we haven't had one since the Nuremberg trials. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, George Bush presided over Abu Ghraib, and
it's not going to happen. I mean,
but everybody. More than that, everybody's like, do you remember those Bush years? Those were great. And you're like, everybody said he was a war criminal.
Right. I mean, again, it's good. I mean, yeah, principally they should, right? I mean, no disagreement here, right? And then some, right?
I just think it's, I think it's funny. Like, I think that the amnesia of society is something to point out and just be like, look what.
I think it's more than that. It's not that people forget it. It's honestly, I think they just look the other way, you know, because they can't be bothered, right?
Yeah.
There's something weird going on. People say, you know, wake up. I think they're in a coma.
Yeah,
they're not asleep. It's more than sleep.
Yeah,
you know. And again, if you wake, you wake, and if you're not, then you sleep. End story. But
propaganda.
Another thing, though, I wanted to ask people's opinions. I saw that Kenny was talking about an Alberta police force, and I'm not sure what to make out of it. Don't they have like an Alberta, like an OPP?
No, they have RCMP.
No, they have the Queen's Cowboys. Yeah,
RCMP. That's that. So
that's
they were talking
the RCMP, because I didn't know that, right?
Yeah,
so,
the RCMP, and because Alberta is so rural, it's
City police.
Sorry,
city police and
well, they have some city police, but a lot of the rural areas are policed by the RCMP. So if they had like something equivalent to the OPP, they could change that.
Right,
Barbara.
So, but that's concerning, right? I mean, something is up with that, right?
Well, they're saying,
Speaking of law enforcement, because again, I mean, you got dumbasses everywhere, right? So, I mean, you can't expect that you know, like somebody pulls you over and accuses you of shit that they know the law either, right?
Right.
So again, that is your responsibility as a citizen.
Exactly.
Know as much as possible.
Yeah.
Typically, we didn't have to, because live and let live, right?
Yeah,
that was our
you wouldn't have
principle,
to,
and nobody cared, right?
Yeah.
Unless you hurt somebody physically or otherwise, nobody cared, right?
Yep.
Now it's different, right?
Yep.
And I don't know.
Yep.
Concerning to me.
It is very concerning. Barbara.
Yes. Yeah, I heard a couple of interesting things this week that just make you think a little differently regarding all the, like I loved what you said about if it's more than one jump, 2 jumps, it's just wrong. Like don't try not to go there, because it's just going to mess with your actual analytic thinking, right? So anyway, this was interesting, and it's like that this is actually an AI attack, and we're in war. Russia and China have aligned to do this, and then, like, you know, crazier things have happened, and it's why it's kind of driving us crazy, because like my life has not changed that much in the last 2 years, frankly, because I don't do a lot of things other than go to my studio and come home. And like we live kind of a quiet life and with family and stuff. We saw our family through the entire time. It was, we didn't change how things, I mean, they were like, because of what we all know, but it wasn't impacted like some people, like yourself, for example. And so like it's different for people that didn't have a lot of interaction. But people that do like go to work and stuff like that, like all the healthcare workers and all the essential workers, those people hugely impacted. And restaurants and like all the businesses and stuff, they're hugely impacted. But the other thing was that it was, other than the AI attack, was that I grew up in the 60s and I was a teenager, well, almost an adult by 68, I was 18. And that period, way worse, way more violence, way more. Yeah, it was horrible. Like, I mean, because I was young, it kind of all blew by me. Like I wasn't political. Like there were, Robert Kennedy was shot that year. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that went on, and and the president assassinated when I was 13. Like it's pretty intense compared to what it is now. Everything's kind of like milk toast compared to that era.
But I think that's part of the insidiousness of it, because like the riots, like the Antifa riots aren't being covered, but they're very violent. Businesses are being threatened, very violent. So
yes,
like,
and it's not really presented like it was then
at all. And so like, the look is, oh, it's kind of violent, but it's nowhere near as violent as it has been historically. But I think that what's actually going on, and especially if you look at the forced vaccinations, like that's the government acting violently towards their citizens. And so, you know, like Russia and China didn't do that to us. We did that to us, right? Like
exactly. But it's interesting if you allow that seed to percolate in your mind, and it helps to me, it kind of takes the detail that all these little ditties coming out. Not only that, but when I was like, I've lived through all those periods as an adult too. So it's like you see things now, okay, all the same stuff still going on. Still, it went on then as well. It wasn't in our face. It wasn't presented daily. Do you know what I mean? So we're getting twigs, we're getting flicked in the head every day.
And that's a bit of psychological warfare.
It's true, but it's not warfare. Like that's the warfare part. It's not because these things are different. They're the same things. That's what I'm kind of trying to say, is that things aren't different in any way. Like the corruption was always there, everything's there, but it was all smoothed over. We didn't see it.
Okay, Stephen. And then
it's kind of like just to comment to that, it's kind of like a shared apathy. Anybody under the age of 30, most of them, right? If you talk to anybody usually about anything political, about the virus, whatever, they kind of shrug their shoulders and go, yeah, whatever. And then they'll send you a TikTok video, you know, and it's a shared apathy. I mean, my son is 23 and he, or 22, excuse me, and he's just starting to wake up, and you know, he's paying attention now. And I mean, he's on a Twitch server, and I joined a conversation with him and about 5 of his friends, and it's an agreed that they will not discuss certain topics.
Wow.
And and it's just really it's really weird.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in order to stay friends, you have to almost do that, right? Like I have some people that I hang out with who my brother made a joke about me being unvaxxed the other day, and everybody was like, "Oh," and I was like, "Oh, I'm a rebel," right? Like, Mel, and then we're gonna wrap it up. Mr. Mel, oh, did he leave?
Or does he know his new name?
I don't know. Care Bear, what's going on?
Care Bear?
We're gonna wrap it up. If you're not here, we're gonna wrap it up without you.
Oh, there he is.
Maybe.
Hey.
Uh-oh.
Can you guys can you hear me okay?
Okay, there you go, yep.
I just wanted to kind of point out 2 quick things. I think this was Val who was asking about this. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah. Shoot. Hello?
Yep, you're there. We can hear.
It's like Connection's busted. Okay.
Uh-oh.
So one thing about Val is maybe in the green room I'll share my email, because we can actually help you out with that, because we can inform you on how to approach your doctor in certain ways, in essentially to point out certain parts of whatever illness you have, such that they will basically be obligated to have to put the test through to you. So I can give you an example. I had a friend of mine whose dad had like a basal cell carcinoma on his head, and basal cell carcinomas are like 1 in 1,000 become like dangerous, like spread. And he was just getting referred here, referred there. 8 months went by without anything really happening to it. Didn't even get a proper biopsy and stuff. And then my friend told me, and I used our kind of doctor resources to figure out like the criteria. And then I realized that he had 3 out of 4 criteria that are like red flags for metastasis. And, I basically told him, go tell him your buddy's a doctor, and looked it up on this thing. And he has 3 criteria. And then bada boom, bada bing, within a week, he had a surgery, right? So there's a way you can talk to your doctors to basically get them moving, and we can help you. So I'll put my email for Val, and then like I'm happy to help. The other thing I wanted to bring up is, I'll do this in the green room again, but I really do encourage everyone to come check this group out, this whole signature amendment thing. Like, to be honest, every signature you do with any other company from now on, you should sign without prejudice. So long as they're giving you like an agreement, you just sign it without prejudice. That one phrase like basically reserves your rights.
Perfect.
Okay. I've been doing, I did it at home. I did it at Home Depot the other day on my car rental. Like literally, it's that simple. There's a bigger process for all the contracts we're already in, but
Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say is, I went and I talked to my doctor again for certain testings regarding this. Like I took like baseline blood work and this sort of thing, because I'm like, and I actually made ground with my doctor. Like at first she came at me all attacky, being like, public health says this and the experts say that and blah, blah. And I said, I know, I understand, doc. But and I told her the VAERS numbers. And I'm like, for example, do you know VAERS? And she's like, yep. And I'm like, do you know that this year there's 12 times as many adverse event reports than the entire history? And the point I'm trying, and then she took back a bit, and then she started listening a bit. And then when I told her like the blood tests I wanted to do, she got a sense that, oh, I'm like setting my base. Like it basically made it more serious for her. And she like, I totally saw a shift in her affect where she's like, oh, and I'm hoping now that she's going to go look into it. Yeah. And the reason I bring this up is because it's truly important that even with your employer, that you show grace and you show allyship. Because, the person on the other end at HR, they don't have anything against you. They have a gun to their head, and their boss has a gun to their head, and their boss has a gun to their head, all the way up to Vanguard. Okay. Vanguard
you're not wrong.
So
I'll back you up on that. I'll back you up on that. My boss is terrified that I'm going to get booted.
Yep. Yeah, I'm sure. Yep. And the thing is, that was not my experience with my doctor. And I genuinely tried to approach it as like, I don't want to base my decision just on online information. I want to verify what I've heard online. And if I've got it wrong, please explain it to me. And so halfway into the call, she was upset with me because I said, well, she said something. And I said, well, it doesn't really make sense then to remove unvaccinated healthcare workers in this context. And she got super angry and like said, well, we have a right to feel safe. I was like, no, I said like fire. Well, I don't think I said this, but later on I said like people who are firemen or fire people don't get a right to feel safe if there's a burning building and you have to run in there and save people. You chose to do a job and now it's dangerous. Go do your job. You don't have a right to demand other people. Anyway.
Totally. But this is kind of like the argument, like, back when 9/11 happened and I had a million issues with it, when I would talk to people, this like wall would go up because their whole reality would get shook. The doctor is the same way. So the key I found with my doc was like, you approach it with questions, you avoid getting into a detailed argument about it. And you ask for certain, like what you could do is be like, hey, like, this is really, the pressure's really coming down. I'm really feeling like vulnerable and under a lot of stress. And I know some other people who are in the healthcare professional and they're actually doing like in the same position, and they're saying to get these baseline blood works in case they decide to take the vaccine, so that if anything happens, we have some baseline. And then just get them thinking along those lines. And, it's going to take multiple efforts. Like you just have to kind of give them grace. You have to understand that a lot of people have been walking around like sheep zombies and like having no clue like what's going on. And in some ways, this pressure and this terror that these real terrorists are doing, they're showing their hand. Like so many people, like thousands of people, like all these healthcare professionals, like none of them knew about New World Order, 9/11, Patriot Act, and the whole direction of the whole Federal Reserve and all this stuff. Nobody had a clue about that, but their eyes are now being opened.
Yeah, that's true.
And these people, these evil ones, I call them, like I think they're terrified. I think they're losing control. In fact, I've never seen them in their whole history blitzkrieg like this. Like, why are they blitzing so hard all of a sudden, risking so much when they're basically using the same strategy they've used for hundreds of years, right? And they were edging closer and closer. There's something up. I think they realize they're losing control.
Maybe.
And all we have to do is stand strong.
I hope so. I hope that's all we have to do. All right, I think that's a good place to end it. So stand strong, everyone. Thanks for watching, everybody out there. We'll go back to the green room, everybody in here. And yeah, we try and do these every week from 12:30 to 1:30. And it's always an interesting conversation. I don't think that I can predict what we're going to talk about, or I have like a kind of a guideline thing just in case we run out of things to talk about, but that hasn't happened yet. And we've always gone over. So it's lots of fun. You should join us. And thank you to everyone for spending the last hour and a bit with me. And we'll see you again next week.
Thank you.